to Rainy Day Rabbit Holes,
a uniquely Pacific Northwest podcast.
I'm Shea.
And I'm Jody.
We live in the Pacific Northwest.
And we love the Pacific Northwest.
On each episode, we will take you on a journey through quirky, mysterious, and fascinating stories of the Pacific Northwest.
So grab your North Face jacket, strap on your Tevas, and pour yourself a cup of Northwest roasted coffee and
let's fall down the rabbit hole.
Do you remember a day when coffee was just black coffee?
I kind of do. Yeah, there wasn't all these choices of
Right, lattes weren't a thing. But it was black with sugar, black with cream and sugar. I think they called it regular.
Well,
it was
I
two
mean,
creamer
you could
and
get
sugar.
a latte or an Americano.
So
Maybe a
you
mocha.
don't remember days before lattes and Americanos?
No, probably not.
Okay, because that's where I'm going with this. There was
really?
a day.
There was a day where there was not a half calf.
There was a day when there was
mochaccino?
no Starbucks when I was growing up, or at least not in the way that we are familiar with Starbucks. So there was no espresso shops until the 80s.
Oh, well, I was a child, so I probably should not have been drinking
That's
espresso.
why I asked you. That's why I asked you. I was thinking when I was doing my rabbit hole, I'm like, oh my gosh, Shea probably doesn't even remember the day when there was no espresso shops on every corner, or at least espresso, like a latte. I hadn't heard of lattes till I was a teenager. Like you were raised on lattes being around.
Denny's coffee and a
Exactly.
chipped ceramic
That's exactly
cup.
right.
Yeah.
So today we are going to talk about the Seattle Coffee Wars.
But first, guys, hey, if you like this show, can you take a quick moment to do us a favor?
Leave us a review on Apple Podcast and subscribe wherever you listen and leave a rating, please. And now we're going to talk about the Seattle Coffee Wars, which, guess what? It's actually a world war.
Is it just Starbucks going and buying up all the small coffee companies?
No, actually, it's
Really?
not. It's
Okay.
Starbucks being Starbucks and everybody else wanting a piece of that. So yeah, in the United States, espresso wasn't really a thing until the late 80s. And by the way, Shea, I participated in this war. I'll get to that later in the story, but
my
I was
goodness.
a player in
You're
this
part
war.
of the problem.
Problem.
Oh,
Problem. We created coffee couture for
Coffee.
the
I know.
Pacific.
We are responsible for coffee culture
I
in
am not a
the
problem.
Western world. And in fact, did you know that one of the biggest places to visit in Tokyo, Japan is the Starbucks over there?
I don't doubt it after
Okay.
looking at this. I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
oh my.
I'm sure
oh
you'll get
my.
into
Starbucks is pretty much the world coffee
yeah.
source of truth for espresso.
Psst, psst, psst. It's not the best coffee.
I agree. I'm not.
Tastes kind of burnt.
Yes, the regular coffee, it always tastes burnt to me. I've never, ever been, I think I've become accustomed to it. You can't go your whole life, especially in the Pacific Northwest, without having to drink
Sure.
Starbucks coffee. If you want coffee at some point,
Yes.
you're going to drink it. And it's been thick. It's been too strong. It's taste burnt. You're right to me.
They're never going to be a sponsor now.
Right.
Got that.
Got that.
Okay,
So this
Coffee Wars.
but this Coffee Wars rabbit hole did also lead me to a Starbucks rabbit hole. This is a duel because you just can't talk about Coffee Wars without talking about Starbucks,
Of course.
how it got created and why it dominates.
All right. Take
So,
me back
here we are.
to the birth
So
of
the
Starbucks.
birth of Starbucks was actually 1971, and it was not an espresso shop. It was not somewhere where you went and ordered a latte. It was not somewhere you sat down and had a cup of coffee and chatted with friends. And you definitely did not get a ham and cheese croissant.
Ooh.
Or banana bread loaf or loaf bread, whatever.
Or a pumpkin scone.
Nope, none of those things were happening at this store in Pike Place in 1971. However, it was Starbucks coffee, and it was a bean store owned by Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel, and Gordon Bowker.
So no Schultz.
No Schultz yet. No Schultz, but
And just coffee beans.
just coffee beans. And then Howard Schultz, who is a businessman, travels over to Italy, Milan, Italy. And while he's there, he's partaking in coffee, espresso coffee drinks, these handcrafted specialty drinks. And he loves them. He wants to bring them to America. And so he comes back.
Is it just because he's high on coffee? Really super strong Italian coffee?
What
he's
was
like,
it?
oh my God, this guy, I've got a great idea.
Yeah, so he's like jazzed up on caffeine. So he comes back, and of course, actually, he was expected to fail. People thought this was the stupidest idea. If you go back to that day that I was talking about before these handcrafted espresso drinks, you are sitting at Denny's all night long with your friends, and you are having a black cup of coffee or a cup of coffee with some cream and sugar, maybe just cream, maybe just sugar, whichever. But you're not getting any milk. It's not getting foamed. You're not getting these lattes. You're not getting cappuccinos.
It's $2 and you get unlimited refills. $1.40.
It's less than $1 for a cup of coffee most places.
Back in the day, sure.
And you would get free refills. So how on earth is Howard Schultz going to convince Americans that they should spend $2.50 on a coffee? Who would do that when you can spend less than $1 and get free refills?
80 cents or something back in.
Bad business plan, Mr. Schultz. Bad business plan is what everybody thought. And he said, no, I'm doing this. And what he did was he went out and he actually bought Starbucks from those original 3 owners and made it into a espresso shop and started serving his specialty handcrafted.
So he was
espresso.
Kind of the person that studies abroad for a summer and they come back and they're like, well, in Italy, they drink their coffee like this.
Absolutely.
And
oh gosh, I hope he was saying, I'm picturing his face and his voice.
It's like me when I come back from Japan. So oh my God, I'm so sorry. In Japan, they do it like this. And he was like that, but with the coffee. And then he's like, but you know what? I have money, so I'm going to actually make it a business.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of down this, like when you're like, Jody, I can't believe you eat your ramen with a fork. Just kidding. She's never done that to me.
In Japan, they slurp their noodles.
Just kidding. She's never done that to me, but she could have. No, but so yeah, he came back and he bought the Starbucks coffee bean store and made it into an espresso store. So he was the CEO of that from 1986 to 2000, where he grew that into kind of what we know it to be now. I don't know if you remember because you were younger, and also maybe not in this area so much of that time between 2000 or 86 and 2000. I don't know when you moved out of the area, but his espresso drinks were very, he had set ones. There were not very many flavors of syrups. So there wasn't a long list of different kind of lattes you could get. They did not serve food for a long time. His vision was, I'm going to serve these very basic, very classic drinks, and that is it. And that's what we're going to be well known for. And so he was the CEO until 2000, where he really grew this business into a well-known market. He grew it from Seattle, King County, throughout the state of Washington, and then down the coastline into California. And then at that time, he was no longer the CEO, and they passed it along. The next owner was Orrin Smith, and he took that from Howard Schultz, a very successful business, and really compounded that. His job was, he got us into the fair trade market for coffee, which is a whole nother rabbit hole. So I'm just going to touch on it here. The whole idea is very lofty and wonderful, but like all good things, they have their dirty side. They have their side that where we go fix something, we break something. That's a different rabbit hole. But fair trade coffee was to help producers in developing countries achieve sustainable and equitable trade relationships. Where we find our coffee beans are often undeveloped countries have the best coffee beans, the ones we are after for our coffee. Moguls, these big, large companies coming down there can easily just take advantage of these growers and the areas surrounding the growers. And so fair trade coffee really went in to make sure that we were giving them improved prices. So weren't just making a huge profit and giving them pennies on the dollar. It made sure that we were keeping up social and environmental standards so that we were not destroying their environment, both culturally and environmentally. The whole idea between fair trade coffee. And Smith grew Starbucks over to sales over $5 billion for the first time. At this point in time, Starbucks has 35,711 stores.
Oh, wow. 35,000.
7-Eleven. In 80 countries. 80 countries. And the U.S. has 18,000 of those stores. So 18,800 of the 35,700 stores are in the United States.
So just about half.
Yep. And then half of those 8,900 are actually run by the company. The rest are actually licensed.
Oh, they're
franchise licensed. Yeah.
I wonder do you know how much it costs to buy a Starbucks franchise?
No, that's a good idea.
It's got to be at least $500,000.
Huge.
It's got to be a minimum of $500,000.
I mean, you're
right?
walking in with a customer base and a
Maybe
business plan
$1 million.
and like literally all you're doing is walking in and putting money on it. It's running.
Well, I mean, you have to build it out.
Right, but it's still set for you. You know what to do. There's a whole plan.
Well, yeah, there's a whole like you have to do it this way. It has to look. It has
to do this way. You do this, and then you do that, and you do this, and you do that, and you order it here, and you give it there, and I mean, you have all the work's done for you on that piece. There's no design. There's no planning. There's no seeking out the best deals. There's none of that. It all is.
You don't have to even do any marketing. You just show up.
You just show up. It's turnkey.
That's if you build it, they will come.
And not only is it turnkey, I mean, we're talking about Seattle coffee wars here. It's turnkey and world-renowned turnkey operation. People will come there.
Why in some cities there will be literally Starbucks across the street from each other's because those might be franchise locations where they're like, well, you can do it. I'm going to do it too.
Right. It could be. I don't know what their rules are about. Obviously, they have no rules about how far they have to be apart.
Yeah, because we've seen those where they are literally across the street. Yeah, there's one in a grocery store and then like a full shop.
And that's
in
just
the same parking lot.
Testament to their popularity that two stores across the street from each other within, less than a quarter of a mile than each other can sustain themselves off of your business because that's the same people, right?
Yeah.
You're vying for the same customers, buying the same thing, and yet that customer base supports two stores. That's crazy to me.
It is crazy. Well, spending $6 on a coffee drink is also crazy to me, but I'm just cheap.
It's not even $6 anymore, which is why I've stopped doing it.
Is it more than $6 now?
Yeah. So where I work, the hospital I work, they have a Starbucks and you can do like the phone order. So like I park in my parking spot, put in my mobile order, pick up a coffee, go to my office. And I'm like, shoot, I'm not doing that anymore. It's like over $7 for like the 12 ounce for a latte type drink. Yeah. Not doing it anymore. I don't do it very often, I should say. Christmas is
a Keurig in your office.
I do.
Just pop it.
Well, actually, I have an espresso machine in my office.
That makes it all foamy.
It's part of the coffee wars. It's phase 3.
Oh, okay.
Wave 3 of the coffee wars.
Let's keep going. Okay.
So wave 1 was just when he bought the bean store and we get going with these espresso stores, right? That's wave 1. And I'll get to wave 2 and then 3. But we're going to go through how Starbucks got to where they are and how now we have coffee wars based off of Starbucks success because people want a piece of that, right?
Yeah.
So Orrin Smith was the CEO until 2004 when Jim McDonald became the CEO. And what he was known for with Starbucks and what he contributed to the corporation was that he increased the earnings by over 20% every year for 5 years. That's incredible. Because if you think about Orrin Smith, he had already brought the company to $5 billion in sales.
Jesus.
And so over the next 5 years, Jim McDonald increases sales by 20% or more each year over 5 years.
Starting at $5 billion.
Yes. Then he multiplies that.
Do you have a number of what their 2023 sales were?
I do not, but I bet we could look that up real quick. So Jim McDonald was the CEO until about, this is the odd thing. So he's the CEO until late 2007, 2008, where Howard Schultz now comes back and is the CEO because he needs to save the company from financial crisis. Even though this fella, Jim McDonald, had increased sales by 20% or more each and every year over 5 years. We're in a financial crisis because the whole world was. I mean, or at least the country was at that time. We're talking 2008, where we had the housing drop and companies everywhere were going down. So Howard Schultz jumped in and took the financial crisis over for Starbucks. Yes.
For a multi-billion-dollar company to be like, we're in financial crisis is so hard for me. Does it mean that your top executives don't get $5 million a year bonuses? Is that okay?
That's what I've been thinking. The board of directors was in a crisis because I don't remember Starbucks ever. Like, did you see Starbucks closing down everywhere because they couldn't keep the place open?
Right.
No, not because of business. They're doing it now, not because of business. So Schultz comes back and he comes in and grows he comes in for another decade as CEO and grows the company's market share. This is where you see the increase in menu items. You're going to see more flavors. It used to be just vanilla, I believe hazelnut and mocha. Like you got very few options.
You know what else you used to be able to get? Irish cream.
Oh, yeah.
That was a flavor. I loved the Irish cream.
And do they not have that anymore?
I don't think so.
At Starbucks, I'm wondering. So. Yeah, I forgot.
But it was
Irish
like
cream.
a latte, a mocha, a latte with 3 available flavors, and maybe one sugar-free, and the only sugar-free was
vanilla.
You could get like vanilla and hazelnut. That was it.
Yep.
And then there were no other milk options until soy milk came along, and then it was soy milk, and you could get an Americano, a latte, a mocha, and then an espresso, right?
Yep.
And then a drip.
Cappuccino. Mm-hmm. Cappuccino, which is just foamy, extra foam.
Right.
This is where Schultz comes back in, and his idea to grow the company or bring it back to financial stability for probably the board of directors, the stakeholders.
Oh no, I can't buy that third yacht.
Yeah, right. Those people needed some stability. That was how he brought the company up, was increase the menu items. He identified the corporate responsibility ideals. So he did a lot of work with diversity, equity, and inclusion. He did.
Oh no, all the things that somebody we just talked about hates.
Yeah. Yes. I mean,
we're not going to say names.
That's why they have safety issues, I'm sure, at Starbucks. They focused on that. No, I'm kidding. Cut that shit.
That's why their espresso machines are exploding
everywhere. The door fell off the espresso machine.
Right. Or their espresso machines are catching on fire.
Yes. Exactly. Anyway, so
I'm leaving that in.
He comes in for another decade until 2017. Schultz is here, and he grew the company by growing the menu items, growing their footprint in the diversity, equity, and inclusion world, and gave us more flavors and drinks and food. There did not used to be food.
Right.
And they were very resistant before this to drive-thrus. You saw little tiny mom and pops, single owners of espresso stands opening up drive-thrus everywhere, but Starbucks was like, nope. You're going to come in, see the environment, have a sit down. That's the kind of place we are. But those little mom and pops coffee stands were taking off because, on your way to work, you don't have time to come in and sit down and chit chat. Sure, that's wonderful. Right. But I really want my latte on my way to work. And I've got, 3 minutes, not 30.
So did I tell you that I was a barista for a short period of time?
No.
When I was a teenager?
You weren't the booby barista.
No, it was my second job. So I was 17. And it was in an office building in Enumclaw, and it was the office building that our local family podiatrist was in, and they owned the coffee shop in the lobby. So it was just like an espresso stand in the coffee shop. I was there for a very short period of time making espressos and stuff like that, and also probably taking a little bit too much of advantage of the pastries.
Oh, yes. Okay. When we get to our part in the Coffee Wars, I'll tell you about the pastries.
But it's also where I learned what a breve is. Do you know what a breve is?
A breve with a half and half.
It's an Americano, but with half and half.
Okay, I'm going to jump right to it then.
Delicious.
I'm going to jump right to it so you don't have to ask these questions. My part was we owned an espresso shop for 4 years.
Right.
For 4 years. And the funny thing is I'll just go into this whole story outside of our rabbit hole. We bought a coffee shop, an espresso shop, and it was also a sandwich shop. This was during 2004 when we bought it, because I was just accepted into nursing school. So I had this time where I wasn't really working, wasn't really going to school because I'd done all my prerequisites. What do? I had a couple friends that said, you own a coffee stand because you get that going and you have an income and it's passive income. It just runs itself. You have income while you're in nursing school. I'm like, hey, I've got, 8-9 months to get this going before I'm head first into nursing school. By the way, I have 3 small children. I guess one of them's 14, can't call her small, but whatever. I'm still a mom of children. So I think, okay, that's fine. We go head first. We decide to take our savings, put it into this business.
Great time to start a new business.
I mean, it's going to make money, right? My friends that told me that running a coffee shop would be passive income were liars.
You know who you are.
You do know who you are. Anyway, so this coffee shop was basically another person, a more honest person after I got into it was like, oh no, it's like having 2-year-old triplets in the bathtub. Like you got to watch that at all times.
Well, because they constantly have their little dirty little hands in the till.
Yes, they do. Yes, as soon as I turned my back, my Costco and bill went up, but my income statements weren't going up. So my sales weren't going up, but yet the cost at Costco, I think I was feeding people.
Yeah, I never stole money. I never, ever once stole money.
Too easy.
But I would have several coffee drinks during my shift and eat like 2 pastries during my shift, which is more probably than they were expecting me to do.
Right. And there's a very tight margin, especially for these smaller shops. There's a tight profit margin.
Yeah, it would definitely have a Costco muffin and something else. And then a couple
so
of
now the
drinks.
Costco muffin.
One of those Costco muffins has like 600 calories or more.
Right.
Yeah.
Keith thought they were healthy breakfast. I don't know. He's a full-grown adult with children. At some point,
chocolate chip muffin sounds real healthy.
Dude thinks that muffins are a healthy breakfast option and is eating several of them a day. He comes back from Colorado where he was by himself, so he had nothing better to do than
living
work
off
out.
of Costco muffins.
He was in tip-top shape. I mean, he was well known for his physique in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And then he came back and he's like eating as many healthy muffins as he can.
Healthy.
And one of his friends stops by and he's like, "What the hell happened to you?
Body
Suck
by
on some helium or something. It's been 6 months, dude." Here's another funny story. I mean, you could cut this too, but we had one of those reader boards where you put those plastic letters. It's a light up board and you put those plastic letters out there. And we put out whatever the deal was for the day. And he ran out. Oh, God. He ran out of letters or couldn't find. I mean, I had these in a file folder, easy to find. But anyway, so the way we purchased our muffins, we wanted to get rid of the last ones before they went bad. So we had free muffin day. So if you bought like a specialty drink, if you spent so much money, you got a free muffin. So we could get rid of those before they went bad. And I drive up and this sign, it's like 3 p.m. So this has been happening since 5 a.m.
Oh no.
And I drive up and the sign says free muff with the with the purchase of a latte.
Was before bikini espresso became popular.
I might have been around. And there's another story about my high school friends started that business.
Oh, really?
Bikini baristas. Yes. Anyway, so that's our venture into the coffee wars. Between 2004 and 2008, we owned this coffee shop. It was an extremely stressful time. Again, I didn't make any money off of it in the end. We had to remodel the place. We added a sandwich store. I paid employees by the time I sold it.
And that's why you got to do the little drive-through kiosk.
Yeah, and it did have a drive-through. And it did have a parking lot. So you could come in or drive through. But the problem was with this parking lot, there's, 6 parking spots. So growing my business was not an option.
Right.
Next door, it was a 2-business parking lot. Next door was a hair salon. And one day they got so mad at us because we had so much business that they just went and parked their cars and blocked our drive-through and made it so nobody could come through. We had to do this whole battle of the businesses. Who's going to take the parking spot?
Annoying.
We had to call our landlords and get parking spots and blah, blah, blah. I mean, and they never once came over and said, "Hey, your customers are in the way of our customers." Not once. They just straight blocked it. Anyway.
Instead of trying to be adults. Okay.
Yes, exactly. A rising costs of products. It just so many things. It was just a lot of work. It wasn't, it did not bring me income during nursing school. What it brought was a lot of stress because now I had this business, 3 kids, and I was going to nursing school full time. For anybody who knows about nursing school, it's not easy. It is literally well known for being the hardest bachelor's degree you'll ever get for a bachelor's degree. So it took a lot. It was not good. But anyway, that was the lie that I was told, was that this thing would run itself. It'd be passive income. And that's why we did it. Did not happen. So we sold it in 2008 when I was a nurse and on my feet there. But
okay, so Howard Schultz, part of Starbucks until 2017?
2017, he...
Real quick, hold on. Wasn't he one of the investors in Elizabeth Holmes' company?
Oh, could be. She had some big investors. We could look that. He might have been.
I think he was, because she had a bunch of old dudes.
She did a really fantastic job selling that.
I know.
I would have bought from
her for marketing for our podcast.
Right. She was...
she's getting out of jail soon.
I'm in the medical field. I do blood tests all the time. And this whole time I'm watching this documentary about her, I was like, that's not possible. None of that's possible. Why are people buying this? Not even possible. The amount of testing that she wanted to do with 1 drop of blood.
Oh, yes. It was Howard Schultz's grandson, Tyler Schultz, who was the whistleblower, the main whistleblower for her. Because she was like, why is my grandpa doing this?
Right, because it's so obviously a scam.
So while he was doing this for Starbucks, he was involved in her scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, by the way.
I think he's always involved in Starbucks, even when he's not the CEO.
Sure. By the way, I looked up Starbucks sales in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to take a guess?
27 billion. Higher than 27 billion?
Almost 36 billion.
my gosh. They got through their financial crisis.
I think so, yeah.
Way to go, Schultz.
It was all of those raspberry caramel pretzel lattes in Japan.
What?
When we went to
latte.
Japan, yeah. They have the craziest. So Japanese love their crazy sweet things. It's really weird because like part of their culture has a lot of very non-sweet things. Like their breakfast, traditional Japanese breakfast has no sweet stuff in it except for maybe like a little bit of sweet potato with a little honey on it. But then when you get into like the junk food, it is sweet beyond belief. And their latte. Did I just find a way to talk about Japan again?
Well, surprise! She's talking about Japan.
But yeah, when the first time I went there, we went to a Starbucks and it was crazy flavors. And it was like, it was caramel, raspberry, pretzel latte for Valentine's Day.
Oh my gosh. That sounds obnoxious.
It sounds like it makes your teeth hurt.
Right? Like I feel jittery.
I know.
Not from the caffeine.
Yeah, exactly.
sugar.
You get a sugar crash and a caffeine crash. Okay, so 2017.
So 2017, Schultz is ready to give it up again and move along. He's saved the company again, and Kevin Johnson comes in, and his focus was continued focus on diversity and improving our the menu, but also he added in the espresso machines. So Starbucks started selling machines and branding them so that now they were known for these high-end espresso machines that you could get in stores.
Who was providing the Starbucks espresso machines? Like what was the actual brand behind them before?
I believe it was La Marzocco.
Okay.
And I could be saying that because I had one of those when we had the top of the line espresso machine. It was very nice, straight from Italy.
Fancy.
$20,000 came with a grinder that automatically dosed.
Oh my God.
Thank God, because that's a thing. So Kevin Johnson came in and he added espresso machines and equipment to the product line at Starbucks. But once again, Mr. Schultz had to come in and save the day. So he came back in 2022 and now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm done giving billions of dollars to Elizabeth Holmes, so I'll come back and play with you guys again.
Right. Exactly. So he's back. He's like, that didn't work out. So
I know. Gosh, but thank God I had billions of dollars to spare.
Right. Exactly. Thank goodness I already
have 3 yachts.
Made this financially stable company again.
$3 billion. Oh my gosh. I'll just like make up for that later. Well, we haven't quite gotten to wars. We're still in the
Right,
Starbucks.
we're still in the Starbucks, but Starbucks kind of starts the wars because now everybody wants in. So Kevin Johnson came in. Now Schultz came in for only a year. He's only been in there a year. In 2023, he handed off again. So Laxman Narasimhan, I'm not going to say it right, is now the current CEO. We don't know what he's going to do with the business yet. He just got it.
Why don't we just say Charles Schultz handed it off to the new CEO?
The new CEO, Laxman. We'll see what he's going to do. We don't know yet, but Schultz definitely is always around to save the day and bring the company back up.
He's got to be like 1,000,000 years old, so it's not going to last for long.
Exactly. So this business that Starbucks has created, obviously others want in, right? This business of coffee that once was people just, 35 cents, 50 cents, less than $1, free refills. Now all of a sudden we're spending, $10 a day per person. Many people, my sister-in-law gets a Starbucks every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day, a big old Starbucks. Multiple people do that. Like that's a big business, right? Some of these drinks could be my entire cost of my food for the whole day, right?
Sure.
$10 a day to eat
Also,
off.
all of your calories for the day.
Sure,
Those frappuccinos,
100%.
you get the big one, they're 1,200 calories.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I mean, that and a muffin is
forget it.
over 2,000 calories for the day. And there you go. That's all you need.
Right. Exactly.
But it's all sugar.
For many, many moons, originally, McDonald's got in the game. In the late 2000s, started really bragging about the flavor of their coffee, talking about, it's not Folgers. It's a specialty roast. It's good coffee. And it actually is. I don't know. I prefer McDonald's coffee.
Well, and you can get a drip coffee for $1.60.
Absolutely. I've not done their lattes. I have to be honest. I'm
they
imagining in my head they're come out of some machine and they're
they
not
sweeten it. And
too
I don't
sweet.
like super sweet. It's too sweet. I'd rather sweeten it myself. But I'm going to stop you real quick because I do have a little anecdote of my own. So when we lived in Capitol Hill from 2006 to 2012, our neighbor was a Starbucks executive. And he told me that they had a whole division of Starbucks that would go out and find small coffee brands that were getting some sort of market share. And they would go out and buy them up. And they would have little code names for each one of these brands. And one of them, there was this company that was like Caribou Coffee.
It's still around.
Well, Starbucks wanted to buy them up, and their code name was like Moose.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And they had a folder that was like Moose Coffee.
And so they were after them. That's funny.
And
I think
they were
I've actually
after them.
heard this story because Caribou Coffee is actually at some of the facilities for the hospital system I work at.
Are they actually owned by Starbucks? Do you know that?
No, they're not.
Okay.
And they're out of, I believe, Minnesota is
Okay.
where they're from. They're not from here.
So, I mean, this is just anecdotal, right?
Right.
This is what I heard. And I could be totally wrong. I could be misremembering it. But I do believe that Starbucks was trying to buy it up. Because
Absolutely.
Starbucks thing was like...
That's part of the coffee wars. They are buying up anyone they can. Anybody who starts making that kind of progress. And it used to be just in the Northwest.
Did they buy up Seattle's Best?
No, that went to...
Tully's?
Yes.
Okay.
That went to Tully's. And where did Tully's go? Did Tully's eventually get... We'd have to look that up. Yeah, they buy up these coffee companies that were becoming a chain because they're the competitors, right?
Yeah, they were having a little bit of the market share.
So they couldn't buy up McDonald's, but they've still competed with them and since the 2000s. And I don't know if you saw recently, McDonald's has now a coffee drive-through station or stores. They just popped up in
like
various...
a little kiosk?
They look like... I don't know. They look like drive-through gas station stores. I don't know. It's hard to explain. They're blue lights. It just looks kind of cheesy to me. I don't know. But their whole thing is a competition to Starbucks. So they're little coffee houses by Starbucks.
Real quick.
By McDonald's.
Is Dutch Brothers going to come up in this?
A little bit.
Okay.
Dutch Brothers and Caribou are companies that Starbucks has tried to beat away.
They can't
or if they can't buy them, beat them. I'm just not a fan of theirs.
So sweet.
I feel like they tried, I don't know, when I drink it, I'm like, did they make strong Folgers and put it in my coffee? This does not taste good. It tastes like latte without coffee or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And then if you buy anything that's a sweet drink, it is so sweet.
Yeah, it's awful.
And it tastes like they just used, like if you get a mocha, it tastes like they used chocolate milk to make it.
Yeah.
And then most of the time,
which some places do. They take that pre-made chocolate milk and foam it up, and it's
I'm
not
not
good.
a sweet coffee person anyways. I like a little bit of cream. I don't put sugar in my coffee unless it's like, I'll do a little creamer at home, but I drink cheap ass coffee. I'm not a coffee snob. But the couple of times I've got friends that are like, oh, we got to go to Dutch Brothers.
Oh, I know. They love it. People love it.
They love it. But then they'll get the Red Bull drink. I'm like, that's not even coffee. And I am so adverse to the smell of energy drinks.
I know. I had one on our road trip.
I know. And that was when I was like, I have to roll down the windows because it will make me so nauseous, the smell of it. And that's probably because...
And it was low level. It was a Celsius, guys. It was a Celsius. It wasn't even a Red Bull.
Well, as a young adult, I got wasted on Red Bull vodkas and threw up. And so now I have an absolute aversion to Red Bull.
But not vodka.
No, even vodka. I can't.
Do you?
I'm not a big hard alcohol fan. You know me.
Yeah.
I like my champagne.
Yes.
I like my beer.
Yeah.
I'll drink some wine, but wine makes me really hungover.
Yeah.
Beer and champagne.
Most
not
alcohol
as much.
does for me. I'm stay
Ever
as light
champagne?
as possible. Champagne's the best for me. Best luck. Best luck for no hangover.
So moving on.
So yes, the Dutch Brothers is one of those, and Caribou that Starbucks has tried to fight off, but they're still going. Dutch Brothers I was introduced to while my daughter was going to college in Oregon. That's right. And it was, long lines, the whole shebang. It was kind of like Voodoo Donuts down there, which was long lines around the corner. And I'd get there and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get the Chick-fil-A thing either. It's a chicken sandwich, guys.
Right.
I'm the only one that thinks that, but it's okay.
No, I think that too.
Anyway, so those have not, they've survived Starbucks. They are not Starbucks, but they've survived Starbucks. Currently, the biggest competitor for Starbucks coffee is Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Yeah. They're the big competitor since 2010 to current. They have been the competition, which I find interesting as somebody. I would not go, okay, do I want Starbucks? I really got to go find Dunkin' Donuts.
So I'm wondering though, I bet you the market share is on the East Coast. Dunkin's is
Could be.
huge on the East Coast.
It could be. And I'm wondering, it doesn't talk about like the behind the scenes. You can get the K cups and all that stuff. I see a lot of Dunkin' Donuts for that.
Oh, yeah. Maybe especially when you go. So I do a lot of my grocery shopping in Walmart just because it's a lot cheaper. Like, and when you go into the coffee section, I don't see Starbucks, but I see their brand, which is great value, and I see Dunkin' for sure.
Yep.
And I know it's huge on the East Coast, and I feel like it's probably a little bit more of like an everyday men's coffee.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Like Starbucks can get to be a little bit elitist.
Yeah.
Especially when you get into all the different order, like a half cap venti. Like you can't even be like a small, medium, large. It has to be a fucking venti or a grande.
Right.
It has to be this Italian name. It's a little snobby.
Well, now I always order in the tall grande venti, and I can tell as time goes on, people are like, "Wait, do you want a small, medium, or large?" I'm like, "Do you even work in a coffee stand?" What do you mean?
But it does kind of lend towards an elitist leaning to this coffee, right? Especially when you're paying $7 for a coffee, which is fucking ridiculous.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Also,
that's where I stopped. But when I got there, I was like, I can't do this anymore.
I'm not a coffee snob, which is fine. I have other snobberies, right? I'm a beer snob. I have friends that are coffee snobs. I have friends, and I love you, Beckmans. This was so cute. They are so into good coffee that when they came up to Washington State to visit us several years ago, they brought their own travel coffee grinder.
Oh my gosh.
And their own little pour over system.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, we were being good hosts. We're like, where would you like us to take you? And they're like, well, we got to go. They really love Pete's coffee. So like, we got to go to Pete's, but we got to go on this specific day because that's when their fresh roasted coffee came out. Because they only want to drink the coffee that has been roasted within the last like 3 days.
Pete's coffee is one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call myself a coffee snob. I'm not a Folgers fan, but other than that, I'm good to go.
I'm kind of like, whatever. I can tell when coffee's bad, but I'll still drink it. I'm fine
Absolutely.
with that.
And I'm more likely to drink it black for some reason if it's gross.
I don't drink great coffee. It's fine. I'm fine with it. And I get it. Like Beckman took me to a good coffee place and he's like, and he also made me good coffee at home when he was visiting. He's like, I'm going to take you to a great coffee place. I was like, yes, it tasted great. But I am so sensitive that I was like, and I'm going to go to the bathroom for half an hour.
The roasters, when we started our coffee stand, it was not a functioning running. It had been set up, but it was no longer running. So there was no roaster already in the business. So we had to choose a roaster. We actually chose Delano's, which is right here in Sumner.
I love Delano's. Yes.
Favorite.
They were big in the 90s.
Yes.
That was when we lived in Enumclaw. I think they had a Delano's there. But I also think they had one in Gig Harbor when we lived there.
They roast right here in Sumner. And so when we're
not in Sumner.
We chose Delano's. You go down there, they tell you the history of coffee, where the beans come from, how they're roasted. You are right there smelling it, touching their beans in their little roasting bins. It's wonderful. And then they teach you how to make all the lattes and the drinks. Nice. Yeah. So how to run or make each of the recipes.
You are going to love then going to the McMenamins coffee roaster, which you need
Absolutely,
to do for
I
your
would.
passport, which we will do next time we go to Portland.
Yes, I would love to do that. Delano's Roasters they do this for just the average person too. You don't have to be an espresso stand owner. You can go in there and learn about coffee, how it's made. It reminds me of home ec. Yeah. Home economics, when you had your classroom with a kitchen and there was like 5 kitchens over there.
Oh,
they had like 5 little espresso kitchens, I guess you could say. So you each go to your little stand and make espresso and wear your little apron.
Are they still around?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, nice.
Best coffee. But that's not
you heard it here, guys. Don't get Starbucks. Go to Delano's.
100%.
Or go to your local coffee roastery that's just a small mom and pop shop.
Yeah, if you go to a espresso stands anywhere that serve Delano's, you're going to get that good Delano's coffee. There's something about it that's smooth, flavorful, but not burnt.
Starbucks always comes off as
burnt. So it's not weak and missing. Like I feel like Dutch Brothers is just a bunch of syrup and milk.
The coffee that you got wasn't it Thorswell at the Devil's Punch Bowl? That was the most burnt coffee you've ever had in your life. It's like they lit the
there's actual ashes
fire.
in it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there was ashes in it. And they might have been cigarette ashes added for flavor. I don't know.
They put their cigarettes out in the cup before they made the latte is what it tasted like. It was so gross.
Yes, I'm definitely on a long day of activity, midday, late afternoon. Maybe I need a rejuvenation with a latte. I think you've noticed it about me. Well, no.
Because the cigarette was in there.
Yeah. That time I needed a cigarette. Apparently they read it on me. Made sure I had both that I needed.
Sorry, little coffee stand at Devil's Punch Bowl, but that was
so
bad.
bad.
Learn how to do better coffee. Okay, let's get back to the coffee wars.
So Dunkin' Donuts has been the main competitor,
yes,
the biggest competition. But recently in 2020, a new company has come in from China. They came in and they're Luckin, Luckin, and they have several roasters or several very popular in China. And in fact, they just in the last year, overtook Starbucks in China, as in more stores than Starbucks. Isn't that crazy? Like it took them almost 3 years to outdo Starbucks in their own country. They have tried to enter the US market, but they have a lot of shady business practices. In fact,
allegedly.
I don't know about allegedly, in the sense that their own government has tried to shut them down, has asked people not to invest in them because they have such bad practices that they make China look bad around the world. So they're like, please stop. But they have such an avid customer base, people that love their coffee so much that when this is all happening, they went on the app and they ordered a bunch of vouchers and coffees and just really floated them and kept them above bankruptcy or whatever, so they could keep them going because they love the coffee so much, despite their business practices apparently, which I thought was interesting, that their customers were so passionate about it that they'll keep them going despite their shady business practices. Taiwan has just
kind of like a car company we will not name.
Yes.
Sorry. I'll stop.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I wonder if that car company is all white men.
You think?
If he had anything to say about it. Anyway.
That car company is the reason that it took a couple of weeks ago, our bus 2.5 hours to get up to Crystal Mountain because it ran out of juice.
In the snow,
in the parking lot.
In that cold weather. Oh, gosh. That makes sense. So China has entered the game, sort of. They've just not gotten anywhere in America yet, which is where the coffee game really, where the money's at. That's where you're winning. If you're winning in America, then you're winning coffee war. Merca. And it sounds like a Seattle specifically. I don't know. There's some, when I look up all this stuff, there's some talk about San Francisco, but for the most part, it really is Seattle that's the wars, because everybody's at war with Starbucks, known as a Seattle-based company.
Sure. Okay.
Even though they're
Did you
everywhere.
see in there anywhere about demographics about like the most coffee consuming place?
No, I did not. I'd imagine it's here, since this is where everybody wants to be with they want the market share here.
Right.
So Taiwan has gotten in the game. In 2019, they opened Louisa Coffee, and they also just surpassed Starbucks in their own country. So it took them 4 years to get more stores in their own country than there were Starbucks. They have not left Taiwan yet. Their Louisa Coffee Company is only in Taiwan. And then there's Europe. As far as coffee roasters and chains, they aren't in the stores like Starbucks is, or Dunkin', or they don't have chains like the Dutch Brothers or Caribou. What they have is Illy, Illy, and Lavazza. And those are for home coffee.
And these are Italian?
Italian.
Okay.
And they are for home espresso machines specifically. So this is wave 3 of the coffee wars. The home brew is where they're at now.
Okay.
Not home roasting or brewing, but like home espresso. Mm-hmm. Like you've seen, I have here the Nespresso, and at work, that's what I have is the Nespresso. Okay. So it makes espresso for me, including a frother, all that stuff, milk frother. So that is where these coffee wars are headed, is to your home now. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that an espresso is $7 now. And it's $7 because yes, they're making money. Yes, it's capitalism, but also the cost has come up for them as well. So they're not going to be able to also keep their sales up, keep their profits up if they don't come up with another avenue, right?
Sure.
So we're going to go into the home and make it easy for you and affordable for you to keep your latte passion going, so that when you're out and about, you come to us for your lattes. Sure. Wave 3 is now in the home.
Whereas I would expect that the evolution of the single cup coffee maker is probably like a huge part of that wave. It is very convenient though to just like stumble out, pop the thing in and walk away. And like 5 minutes later, my cup is full of coffee, and then I don't drink too much coffee.
Third wave of coffee wars is in your home, espresso in your home. So people are going to be coming to you with the best products. And I am so excited about that actually, because
are they coming to my house? Because I don't want that.
So the Nespresso I have is so easy. I mean, and I, as somebody who has made coffee, owned a coffee store or shop, been a barista, been trained at a roaster, and understand, you know, the espresso, the body, all of it, how you want it to pour, what it looks like, the crema on top.
They're the people who like go,
you know, right, exactly, and you know what they're tasting and why and what level and how that works. Blah blah blah. So that's why I love my Nespresso machine, because it makes regular cups of coffee this way, which gets a little bit, you got to get used to making, or tasting and fixing, but it spins it. And so the espresso it's separated. If you ever look, you got the foam on top, the crema on top. That's like the fat in the coffee, the oils in the coffee. And so that's what the Nespresso does. It spins it. And no matter what size it is, all the way from a single shot of espresso all the way up to a cup of coffee, that's how it makes it.
Ooh.
So your cup of coffee is foamy. And then I stir
that's
it.
more luxurious.
I should make you one before you go, just so you can see it.
Well, I can't drink coffee this late.
I'll just show it to you.
Do you have it?
Show it to you later.
Okay. Next weekend.
Yeah, next weekend I'll show it to you, because you end up, it looks like I have cream in my coffee, but I don't.
Ooh.
I've just foamed up that crema and then mixed it back in, and it looks creamy, and it is just the straight espresso. But it does taste like you're drinking straight espresso, so it did take a minute to get used to and how to make it. But the beauty of the Nespresso Virtuoso that I have is that I just pour milk into this little frother, and to the line it says to put the milk at, put the lid on, push my button for my espresso. They both end. I pour them both in a cup, and look at that. I've got a homemade latte, and I can use any milk I want. I can add any syrups I want, which I don't usually.
Nespresso, if you want to sponsor us, we're fully open to
right?
that.
I bought
you don't
one
even
for
have
work.
to pay us.
These
are
are expensive
machines,
and now I have one sitting on my desk at work because I just love it that much.
Give us a machine. We'll pitch it every single episode.
Yes, we'll put you on YouTube where we do. We'll make espressos on camera.
Exactly.
And then I can have an espresso everywhere I go.
All right. So this is the third wave of the coffee wars.
That's the third wave of the coffee wars. And so that's where we are now. And basically still the big players are the big players. You'll see outside of the coffee wars, I want to touch back with the bikini espressos.
Oh, yeah.
Those were started in this area as well. Cowgirl Inc.
Okay.
Or Cowgirl Espresso.
Yeah.
That was actually started with one of my classmates from high school.
Oh, really?
Tukwila. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so the Cowgirl Espresso started there, grew from there, and then the movement grew from there.
Sure.
And now I literally cannot go to a regular mom and pop coffee stand because I've done it before and accidentally showed up twice. This happened to me twice.
And you're like $12 for your latte because there's a lady in a bikini.
$12 and a pubic hair. No, I'm just kidding. Never happened. But I'm just like, I drove up once. The first time this happened to me, I drove up getting ready for a soccer game. I'm going to go drop off all these girls in my minivan. I've got a car full of young girls, like 12 years old in my minivan. I pull up to this nondescript coffee stand. Doesn't say nothing about titties anywhere. And
I did not sign up for tits in my coffee.
And as soon as she opens her frosted window, the whole car's like, oh, and they bust up laughing. They make fun of me. These girls are like dudes. And
so did you just drive away?
And no, I got my coffee.
Oh, God. No, you just be like, I'm sorry. Bye.
I'm trying to understand. And I know people who go to these and for the purpose that we think they do.
Looking at titties.
And I'm like, dude, you're an old guy. This guy. So you're, it's so creepy to me. Like that girl wants nothing to do with you, but your tip. That is what she thinks of you. And you're like, all right, have my tip. Like just the tip, all the tip.
I mean, that's kind of like strip clubs too. But I mean,
yes, it is.
Think about it from this
sort of. I mean,
it's
almost grosser to me. I'm on my way to work. I'm just to stop and get a titty peep show on my way to work. Like I don't.
But that might be the only chance they get to see cute young titties for the rest of their life.
Do they not have a cell phone?
In person.
Right. I guess I would be like, if I drove up to a stand with some hot looking dude with this great chest. That is one of the things I like about dudes.
And a nice round butt.
Round butt, but also the chest with the furry hair. I like the chest hair.
I don't need to see what's under your Speedo, though.
No.
Keep that on.
But like if I drove up and there's this 22-year-old up there with his hot chest and I'm like.
And a nice round
booty and he's making, I mean, like, I'd feel like, oh God, that's gross. So creepy. Like, how do you, I don't get it. Like, how do you not feel like a dirtbag while you're sitting there oogling some young girl?
The whole point of being there is to IF them, right?
Yes. And they just want your money. That is it.
So did you hear about all the coffee stands in Snohomish County getting busted for prostitution?
Prostitution, yes.
Mm-hmm. Because they were allowing customers to reach through the window and grab a handful.
Things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were getting nice bonuses, not just tips, but good bonuses.
Yeah. I mean, these girls were making a lot of money, which at that point, I'm like, just go work at a strip club.
Right. Exactly. Do it where it's legal. Do it where it's legal. Not where somebody's like me is going to show up with my kids in the car while you come out and show me your titty. Like, I know. Let's be clear about what we're driving up to here.
At least as an exotic dancer, you're like not having to work so hard as far as making coffee.
Right, exactly.
You don't have to clean anything.
Nothing.
I don't have to clean a carafe.
Ice and yeah. I think, if it's a strip joint, it's very clearly marked. You have to have ID. Nobody accidentally walks into sees naked chicks in a strip joint, right? Why is this not the same thing for a coffee stand? As somebody who's I literally only go to brand name places now, unless I know this coffee stand. What did one of my colleagues, what did she call it? The titty shack or she's like, oh, you mean the titty shack? It's like, well, the coffee stand. Yeah, it's a titty shack.
The titty shack. Hey, look, no shade to the titty shacks, because if I was an entrepreneur that had 100%. The money and could get on the ground floor and be like, I own this business and I hire these young, attractive girls to show off their tits and I'm raking in thousands of dollars a day for it. Yeah, I would be a business owner, but I'm not.
100%.
Am I just jealous?
I'm not against it.
Am I just jealous, A, of the money making, B, of the fact that I no longer have a body that anybody wants to look at naked?
I do. I'll look at it.
Thank you. Will you give me $10 to look at it?
You know what? If you want, that's what I will do.
One time. That's all I need. Just be
$1 one time for $10,
or 10 times for $1.
Wait, do I have to tuck that in somewhere? Do I have to
No, you just put it.
Slide it over. Okay.
Okay. So we get either one time for $10 or 10 times for $1. What would you choose?
Probably the 10 times I want my money's worth. Anyways, no, I'm not against these bikini barista places. I'm against not labeling them.
Right.
I'm against me accidentally showing up with my car full of kids.
Yeah, make it very clear.
That's not okay to me. Especially, I have a car full of girls. I didn't have any sons.
So imagine.
I'm raising them to have jobs that aren't that, not because I think they're bad necessarily. I just think they can be dangerous.
Well, places like, also, it ups the price of the coffee. You're like, I was expecting to spend $6 on this coffee, not 12.
This bitch wants a tip from me, like a fancy tip. Like I got tits. I don't need yours.
No, you get like whatever my change is left over. I have titties and I'm fine looking at mine.
Okay,
I don't need to look at yours.
Happen next time. Next time I accidentally show up to one of these, I'm just gonna whip my tits out.
There's your tip.
And then I'm gonna say, no tip, we're even. We're even. So that is the Seattle Coffee Wars. And as you can tell, Starbucks basically is running the show for the Coffee Wars. They're the America of the world. Everybody wants to outdo. Good, bad, or ugly. They want to outdo it because they're winning.
Absolutely. We hate a winner.
And so what I would recommend is if you are a Starbucks fan, keep on being a Starbucks patron. And if you're for the underdog, go find your favorite mom and pop's shop.
Yeah, like a little local coffee roastery.
Find out who their roaster is, because those mom and pop shops aren't making their own coffee beans. They're buying them from somewhere. Find out what your favorite is. Support those coffee stands that are serving those roasters. Help somebody else out in this coffee war.
I'm going to do a free plug for a local place, Lamppost Coffee in
yeah.
Bonnie Lake.
Yeah. Yum, yum, yum.
Their coffee comes out fresh on, I think they said Saturday evening. So Sunday morning, you can go in and buy your fresh roasted coffee. But yeah, support your local coffee stand, your local coffee brewer. Stay away from the big boys if you want to support local. If you like the big boys, stick with the big boys. It's up to you. And if you want to drink coffee that has been pooped out of a cat's cat's butt,
I didn't even go there. I didn't even go there.
If you have fancy money and you want to eat,
it's a monkey. It's a monkey that poops out.
I thought it was a cat.
No, monkey in the trees eats.
There's a cat though that does it too. A wild cat
eats living in the trees, eats the coffee bean, and what they poop out, then they roast.
Yum.
There are folks who will pay hundreds of dollars for that espresso.
Do you know who roasts their own coffee and has pretty decent coffee? McMinimans.
Oh, I can't wait. I've not had theirs.
Please follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And please share the podcast with someone else. And I'm not talking about just saying, hey, my friend blah, blah, blah does this great podcast. Actually, physically send them the link to their phone.
One person, each of you.
One
if you
person,
just send it to one
will you do it
person,
each week?
We double our listenership by just having each of you do one person.
One person a week. At least one person. I don't know. That's a lot.
Share. That's the only way we get to keep doing this.
I know. And for those of you who are like, we love your podcast, we just haven't listened to the last 5. Listen to the last 5. Come on. They get better.
Every
and better. Single time.
Not only are we funnier, Shea's better at editing. So we're getting legit around here.
We were always funny.
Always funny. We're idiots.
Especially
and I love
2
us.
bottles of champagne.
I don't know how many times, every time I say we're so stupid and I love it.
I know, but then we come up with these really great ideas.
Like OnlyFans feet with Bigfoot massages.
Bigfoot OnlyFans feet. Hey, we can't put that. Somebody will steal it. All right. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next week and
see you down the rabbit hole. So I've never
sexualizes ladybugs.